It's a lovely sunny Sunday morning here, and I'm back to revisit this caliper change that was done. I think it was earlier on this year. This caliper has been slightly problematic. It seems to catch on when applying the handbrake. So obviously I went through and discussed that in an earlier video. What I was finding was when you put the handbrake on, you were having to apply a lot of pressure. It would hold the car in place, but if you went too far, it was like it locked on. Now you can see by the look of the disc, it doesn't look very clever, so something's not quite right. And then if we compare that to the other ones, I mean, it's been sitting overnight. That one doesn't look too bad. It's obviously got a little bit of the surface rust and the moisture. Again, same with that one. And the same with that. Again, it's just the bloom from the moisture in the air. But all of the calipers have been fine. They were all replaced. They're all brand new from the previous video. So I got in touch with the company, which is I think it's Advanced Auto Parts. I mean, I've absolutely nothing negative to say about them. The calipers came with a 2-year warranty, so I was in touch with them this week. So they've sent me this caliper out, which is a different box to the other three, but presumably it's the same thing. So I'm just going to get this jacked up, get the 2 rear wheels off, because obviously I'm going to have to adjust the handbrake, so that requires removing the centre console. But I'll get all my tools out and get the car jacked up. Oh, I've even got a new impact driver that I bought from Lidl to test out. Well, this is my new Parkside impact driver. I got it from Lidl maybe a couple of months back. It's $59.99. I've no idea how good it is yet. I've never even used it, but anyway, here's the first shot. So at the moment, it's set on 300 newtons or whatever. That's gone down. Okay, I've got it on the full. I don't know if I'll need 2 hands to do this, but I'll try it first of all with the... Okay, so that's coming off. Actually, that's taken the whole nut off. I actually thought I would just slacken it off, but well, I'm going to do this with 2 hands so I don't end up taking the wheel off without jacking it up. I'm already prepared for jacking the car up. I must admit, I'm kind of old school, generally speaking, with very basic tools, but that is mighty impressive. Obviously there's a couple of nanoseconds where it has to slacken the nuts off, but then immediately it's at the end of the thread. So yeah, quite impressed. So $59.99 from Lidl. It'll obviously not be for sale now, but quite impressed. And you can see it's not been getting the friction properly on there. There's plenty of meat on the pads. So anyway, now I've got to take this off, so I need to disconnect the handbrake mechanism first. I need to remove the centre console inside the car, and then I'll clamp the hose and start from there. Okay, so I've now got this jack stand in, the jack's still on. The next step is to remove the centre console. So there's a couple of clips at the front, just like pop type clips, and there's 2 screws just at the back, at the side. And how to do this is you need to sorry, I should try and hold the camera properly. you need to unscrew this, and then this little bit, this little trim piece comes out, and you can lift the handbrake, lift it over the handbrake. But be careful, because you'll have connectors for the inputs. So I'm obviously going to have to move all these CDs and crap and everything, but it's connected there, and then I think there's actually a connection somewhere underneath for the handbrake, for the brake light, or the handbrake warning light. But that's fairly straightforward. Just in case I move the seats fully forward. I'll show you that. So this is a very handy feature of the Honda Jazz. Pull this lever and you can move the seat forward. So that's the screw at the back that needs to come out. So there's one on the other side as well. As I say, nothing too difficult, but that gets you into the adjuster. I've kind of lifted this up from the back, as you can see. You'll see that there's cables down there. There's some connectors there you need to disconnect. So don't just yank it out. And there's also this pop stud that goes in down there just to the front of the handbrake. So if you get anything that's giving a bit of resistance, it's probably that part. So I've got the screws out up here, if you can see that. Yeah, those screws are out. And then there's a couple of those push fit panel trim type things at the front. So they're out. So that's it loose, but now I need to probably go in on the passenger side and get these connectors off. Right, so this is the front end. So this I think is the USB, or not USB, the audio input. So it just has a simple trigger. You just push that in and it'll come out. This one has another trigger bit and it should come out. But this one seems to be the easiest one to get off. This is the more complicated one, but it's just a case of pushing that trigger in. And then that's all free and clear. Now the reason for that is we need to take all the tension off this handbrake in order to adjust the brake properly. And then obviously I'm having to remove the caliper and the handbrake mechanism from the rear driver side or rear off side here in the UK right hand drive. So the car's in gear. I'm just now going to buzz this off, get it slackened totally. Well, it's up to you how you do this. I'm using a ratchet spanner. It's a 12mm. You could use a socket if you want, but the main thing is just to take the tension off this and let the cables go fully slack. It's easy enough with a ratchet spanner, but you might get more turns with with the socket. Anyway, I'll do this and then I'll get back to you. As far as I'm aware, all the tension's off that. I think that's okay. I mean, if you want to be 100% sure, just take that completely off. Or maybe I'll just do that anyway. The caliper removed. I've just used a set of mole grips with some cardboard to clamp the hose. The thing will be bled anyway. So this is the old and new caliper. It's obviously a slightly different brand. That might be a Chinese font, I don't know. But to all intents and purposes it seems to be pretty similar. So this is the one that I was having the problems with. I mean, it looks okay. It doesn't look like there's any real issues with it, but something to do with the way the handbrake mechanism worked on this one. It would hank on. So hopefully once I put this one on, we'll be okay. So to get that off, you have to unbolt that handbrake cable bracket, which in the case of the caliper, it was two 13mm bolts there. Well, obviously it bolts on that side, and then you've got two 12s for the pad carrier for the sliders, and then I think it's a 12 or a 13 for the banjo bolt for the hydraulic hose. So I'm going to get that put on. Pads look reasonable. There's obviously a slight bit of kind of wear there. Don't know why that is, because as far as I remember, these were all pretty much new when I fitted them. But I'll maybe just give that a quick rub over and then put these all back in. Well, that's the rear caliper fitted. I actually initially mislaid that inner copper washer or whatever it's made of. Anyway, I found it, so that took me a little bit longer to find it in the gravel here. The next thing I need to do is see about getting the brakes bled. I've re-greased these ears on the calipers, and hopefully that'll start taking that surface rust off fairly soon. I've also, this one was fine, I've also greased this bottom slider, so I cleaned it out. And then I'll need to see about jacking up the other side of the car so that I can do the handbrake balancing. But so far so good, just time and effort. So you've got 12mm bolts for the slider bolts onto the carrier. You've got, in my case anyway, there's a 13mm bolt for the, I think it's 13mm anyway. Double check. No, sorry, it's a 14mm for the banjo bolt, and underneath the bracket for this bracket for the handbrake cable in here, I don't know if you can see that, I can't see for the sunlight, but there's a couple of 30mm bolts, but I think the original bolts that came with the advanced caliper kit were, so they were 13mm, sorry, but I think the original ones with Honda were actually 12. The Honda ones were pretty well buggered, to be quite frank. So I think this this one could maybe do with a new slider on the rear there, but it's okay for the time being. It'll do. But that might be a future job for this. Well, I'm ready to go for the brake bleeding part of the job. I'm waiting for some assistance because I can't press the pedal myself, and I've not got one of those easy bleeders, which I did think about buying about 2 months ago and didn't bother, so negative points to me. So you need a 10mm spanner, and I've just got a bit of tubing that I'm going to put into a jar, and I'm just using this Padgett .4 brake fluid, so I'm not expecting any complications with this. As far as I'm aware, everything is hydraulically tight. Definitely going to have to get in there in the summer and put some stuff onto the rusty metal, but it's just one of the things in Scotland with all the salt on the roads. It's pretty bad. But anyway, I'm just waiting for the assistance, then we get started. Right, so I've bled the system. I used an ironic bottle, saying we're living in the post-corona times. So I've pulled all that fluid through. Quite happy that there's free and clear fluid in there without any air. So that's done. I've pumped the brakes, I don't know, 50 times maybe to adjust. Obviously the idea is once you get the fluid in, you keep pumping so that it adjusts this rotating piston, and then once that's done, you've taken all the slack, shall we say, out of the system. Just want to make sure there's no leaks there. Yeah, so I've supposedly taken all the air out of the system now. I've greased up the pads. I've put some grease in the slide pins just to make sure there's no problems there. I've also now jacked up the passenger side. Everything's free and clear with the brakes, they're not hanking on. So now it's a case of getting into the car and starting to adjust this nut here, the 12mm nut, to take the slack out of the brake, or the brake cable I should say. So I've got my ratchet spanner, so I'm going to start doing that. Well, that's actually doing, I think, better than it was before. I'm not sure how many clicks I've got. Let's see. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 10 clicks. I think there's obviously more that I need to adjust it. So that's 10 clicks. And let's see if I can move this. If I really pull, getting a little bit of movement, but that's 10 clicks. The other side's fine, so I'm going to release the brake. Brake released. A little bit, there's definitely a bit of resistance there. Obviously the wheel's not on. I go down to this side. Yeah, that's pretty good. You can hear there's a little bit of resistance in there, but yeah, it's fine. So I'm just going to nip this up a little bit more on the adjustment side. Put the wheel back on. So that's the brake off. I can see there's a bit of there is a bit of resistance there, but it's not terrible. This side, it's definitely much smoother, so I'm going to adjust it again slightly more. I've probably turned this maybe another 2 times, 2 rotations, so that's the kind of movement I've got here. Handbrake's off fully. I'll just see if the wheels still rotate. So that, I can feel that's biting more, so I probably want to slacken it off slightly. Yeah, I'll take that off. I'll slacken it off half a turn, or maybe a turn. Right, I've maybe actually undone it a turn and a half. When you're doing the adjuster, you'll feel there's like an ellipse or something, a curve on the adjusting bolt or nut, and you'll feel at a point where it's like half a turn each way. I would say this side definitely feels a bit stiffer. I'm now going to put the handbrake on and see what that's like. So let's see where it feels like it's full resistance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now 6 is pretty hard. Well, I can't turn it by hand, which I wouldn't expect it with a handbrake on, to be honest. That feels solid. Right, what I think I do now is take the car for a test and see how the handbrake performs. Well, that's everything, as far as I'm aware, everything tightened up. So I've put some grease on the handbrake linkage there. I've put grease here on the clip. When you're doing this, the first time I did this, I actually took this clip off in order to take the cable through there. You don't have to do that. You just need to get the end of the cable off the arm. That's the arm that pulls to push the piston. So as long as you get that off, you can get behind there, and then up in here there's 2 bolts that hold this bracket on. So if you have the cable on, it might be possible to get in there with a spanner or something like that if you're in a part of the world where you don't have rust like we get here in Scotland. But my tip, based on doing this a couple of times, is take the handbrake cable off there and then unbolt the two bolts that are behind, sort of obscured by this cable that holds this thing off, holds this bracket on, sorry. And then it's fairly straightforward. But I'm now going to go and test the car and see how the handbrake performs. Well, this is a fairly hilly downhill section, nothing behind me. So let's see, I'll put the handbrake on. One more. Right, I'll put it in gear. If I put it in gear, it will pull slightly. I've stalled the car. Let the handbrake off. If I put it in gear. I'll stop. It doesn't maybe look that hilly here, but it is quite hilly. Handbrake's on. It's not moving. That's good. Handbrake off. It's a hillier section here. You can see how the road dips away. I don't think I'll be parking on anything as hilly as this, generally speaking. The brake's fully down. Handbrake is on. It's hunkered down. It's not moving. Handbrake off. Foot down. Handbrake on. Hunkers down. So I think I'm quite happy with that. Alright, I'm going to turn the car around. I'm going to do it from the other direction. Well, I'm on the uphill section now. I'll let the handbrake off, roll back a bit, brake applied, handbrake on, it lifts up, so that seems to be okay. I'll put it into gear, it's hunkering down, so I'll try it further up the hill. Right, just round the corner, stop. Brake down, foot brake that is, handbrake applied, it lifts, it's definitely not rolling down the hill, so yep, definitely better. It'll just be a question of maybe slightly adjusting the handbrake cable that is down by the handle. So I'm quite pleased with that, not too bad for an early sort of Sunday morning job.